What's going on, guys? This past April, I was fortunate enough to go to Japan and experience all it had to offer. And as you can tell, I bought a bunch of stuff, so let's go over it. If you haven't seen it already, I did release the Vintage Shopping in Japan video, where I kind of take you throughout all of the thrift stores and vintage stores that we went to, while also giving a brief glimpse of everything else Japan had to offer. I highly suggest you either watch it before this video or after this video, but you should definitely check it out. But enough of all the talking, let's move on to the clothes. So the first area that we stayed at was Tokyo, and after landing at the Narita airport, we dragged our jet-lagged bodies to Ueno, where we stumbled into a Hanoya. This is where I found these Burgess Plus 1928 cinch-back jeans. If you don't know Hanoya, it's a company that specializes in heritage wear and Japanese selvage denim. And Burgess Plus is their in-house brand, so it's safe to say that they know what they're doing. And I gotta say, I love the fit of these jeans. They are a 14-ounce selvage raw denim in a straight fit, and I couldn't get enough of these. I'd been looking for a pair of straight fit dark rinse jeans. When I saw these and saw that it had the cinch back on it, I knew I had to pick it up. Besides the fit, the thing that I love about these jeans are all the period accurate details, like all of the rivets, the button fly aspect, and of course, that cinch back is just amazing. The only problem that I really have with these is that I wish the position of the cinch back was different. I wish it was below the waistband, because whenever you wear a belt, you don't really get to see it. But other than that, these are a perfect jean and I love wearing them. Because they are raw denim, I was a little nervous because they're a bit scratchier and rougher on your skin at first, and I was a little bit worried about that. But honestly, after like 3 to 5 wears, they softened up a decent amount pretty quickly. They're still a little bit tough, but nowhere near as bad as the first wear. Safe to say I'm definitely happy that this was the first purchase in Japan. One of the first areas that we went to in Tokyo was Shimokitazawa, which honestly was one of my favorite places to be at, not only because of the vintage stores and thrift stores there, but also just like the general vibe there. The people, the stores, the architecture of the stores, the food, all of it was just so great. And the first store that we went to was a tree fact style, where I quickly found this Purple Label North Face button-up. Purple Label North Face is a collaboration between Nanamika, Goldwyn, and the North Face, where they take North Face's outdoor roots and kind of combine it with more contemporary streetwear. And with details like the rubberized snaps and the mesh yoke lining, you kind of get a combination of both casual streetwear as well as a little bit of that outdoors feel. The details that I loved about this shirt was the collar band, the half placket, and then the fact that the fabric or the shirt is 2 fabrics. It's this just blue Oxford and then this blue and white striped. And then the fit of it was just so great. It felt so intentional with it being somewhat oversized, but I don't get lost in the shirt, which I really appreciated. I do have a decent amount of button-ups in my wardrobe, but this one just felt different, which is kind of why I wanted to pick it up, just to like change up the wardrobe a little bit. So next up, at that same tree fact style, I also got these 1984 Swedish military fatigues. What drew me towards the fatigues was the fact that they had like this singular pocket on the left leg and then another one on the right backside. I will say these are slimmer and shorter than I would have liked, but I kind of like them with the boots that I was wearing at the time. I can definitely say that this was probably one of those pieces I was just influenced to buy just by being in Japan, because I was like, I gotta get something from Japan, you know? But I'm gonna see if I can get some wear out of these. Now the last thing I'm gonna show from Tree Fact Style was actually the first thing that I got, but it's kind of my favorite piece, so I wanted to show it off last, which is this 1980s or 90s vintage Banana Republic denim jacket with this tan leather top collar on, which I think is so cool. When I threw this on, I love the fit of it. It's pretty oversized in the chest and shoulders area where it's got drop shoulders, but then it tapers down a decent amount right to where it hits at my hips. And besides that collar detail, another thing that I really liked was the shorter waistband height and cuff height. On Levi's, you'll normally have like a 1 3/4 cuff and waistband. This one, it's more like 1 3/8, 1.5 maybe. Another cool little detail that I literally just noticed as I was putting this away was that it also has a pleat in the at the cuff, which I feel like that's not that usual for denim jackets, but maybe I'm crazy. But yeah, between the fit, the details, and the wash, I knew that I was gonna have to get this one. Another place that we went to in Shimokitazawa was New York Joe, where I found this Anachronorm button-up If you don't know, Anachronorm is a Japanese brand that is inspired by vintage garments. When I first pulled this shirt out, I immediately thought of like 1920s button-ups with the contrasted collar band and cuffs that you would have seen during those times. And then after looking closer at the shirt, I saw more details that kind of lended itself to like 1920s work shirts or shirts in general, like the shirring in the back yoke or the chain stitch runoff at the side seam that is period accurate for 1920s and 1930s work shirts. Another couple details that I love are the selvage hemmed chest pocket, and then also how the placket doesn't go all the way down, and it seems that the shirt hem is kind of curved at the bottom. Now the fit of the shirt is slimmer than I normally get, but that's kind of why I also wanted to get it, just because it's something different than what I have in my wardrobe, and it's almost like a challenge of how I can style it within the clothes that I have. With all the details on the shirt, it just feels so intentional, and I feel like this was a common thread throughout Japan, but it was pieces like this where I realized how these brands care about telling a story through their clothes and not just making something that looks cool. There's a lot of intentionality with all of the different details. And it's the fact that they want to create a story that I think is so unique to them, because in the States, I feel like it's not as much about that. Now, I don't remember what area I got this next piece in, but we went to a second street where I found this Cohen black M65 fishtail parka jacket. I don't own any black jackets, so I've been looking for black jackets, and I've been dying for an oversized fishtail parka, which is why I thought this was just gonna be a perfect pickup. And when I originally got it, I thought it was gonna be oversized enough, but when I took it home, I kind of realized that it was a little bit smaller than I wanted. I definitely think that this was another one of those pieces that I was kind of just influenced by being in Japan, so I bought it. Don't get me wrong, I do like the coat, and I like the fit of the coat. I just feel like there's some drama that's missing. Like, it should be more oversized, longer, and have like a little bit more intentionality with the fit. But that also just could be because it's Japanese sizing, and even though it's a large, it just doesn't fit me the way it should. With all that being said, I do like some of the details, like the collar band, the articulated sleeve, and then the detail of the sleeve cuff is nice. And when I came home and I had my whole wardrobe with me and styled it with some oversized cargos and some like suede cowboy boots, I actually liked the outfit. So I think this might just be a case of styling it in a certain way that it looks good. So after our time in Tokyo, we flew down to Fukuoka and then drove down to Beppu, where we ended up going to a second street where I found this Gyu olive green button-up. The shirt really feels like this marriage between outdoors wear and military wear, with the revered collar, the chest pockets in the front, the olive green ripstop, and then the vented back. Even though it is a size small, it's pretty roomy on me in the shoulders, but not oversized, and then it's a nice crop on me. And I like to wear this one tucked in. I feel like it looks really nice. I think what really drew me towards this shirt, besides the fit of it, was the chest pockets. I feel like the size and the placement is kind of unique. Feels a little off kilter, but like in a good way, if that makes sense. So the next thing I got at that second street was this TMT Japan vest. TMT Japan is another one of those brands that is influenced by vintage workwear, and with details like the notched collar, the green herringbone fabric, the patch pockets, the waistcoat shaped hem, and those cinches at the side, you feel like this is a piece that's been inspired by late 19th century, early 20th century vintage workwear. This was another piece that I thought was definitely different in my wardrobe, because yeah, I have a ton of vests, but nothing like this. Now finally, for the Beppu second street, I finally found the drama that I was looking for in this Wego M65 fishtail parka in olive green. This is definitely more of what I had in mind for my fishtail parka. It is a lot more dramatic. It feels a lot more intentional with the fit. It's oversized, drop shouldered, longer. I just think it looks a lot better, extremely oversized and exaggerated. So I'm definitely happy to have this in the wardrobe. After we hung out in Beppu, we ended up going to Osaka eventually, where it was Kimi's birthday. And one of the things that we did for Kimi's birthday was go vintage shopping, where I found at another Tree Fact style, this Gyu times Undercover collab t-shirt. I'm a huge fan of Undercover. I've never owned any of their clothes because it's just a little bit too expensive for me right now. So when I saw this t-shirt, I thought it was my chance to own Undercover without paying the Undercover price. But what I didn't realize was that it's so much cheaper in Japan, and by the time I realized that, we didn't have enough time to go back. So this was my one shot, I guess. It is a oversized black t-shirt, size large. I originally liked the graphic, but then after I bought it and looked at it a little while, it just seemed like a watered down version of what, and kind of like a more trendier version of what Undercover is. I do love Undercover's collage t-shirts. This just feels a little bit more trendy or tampered with almost. I don't know how to explain it, but I do love the color scheme. I just don't get why that guy's hair is like that. I do like the shirt. I'm not in love with it. I don't know how long I'll keep it, but it's kind of cool to have somewhat undercover, kind of. That's cool. The other thing that I picked up from the Tree Fact style was something that Kimmy actually told me to try on, and it is this 1940s, 1950s Hinson quality garments hunting vest. This piece is just so unique and so cool. What first drew me towards it was the extreme like high-low effect that you get from the vest. It's extremely high in the front, a lot lower in the back. It's such a good layering piece in my wardrobe. I layer with t-shirts, button-ups, sweatshirts, so it's definitely really versatile. Besides the fit of it, the details are amazing. I loved all of these shotgun shell holsters or pockets, and then the sling back pocket on the back, which is why it's so low, is such a cool detail. And then all the wear and tear that it has made it a more interesting and unique piece with the tarnishing of the buttons, the little paint splatter you get, and then also some of the distressing that you have on the back is just so nice. I'm definitely glad to have this in the wardrobe, and I'm very thankful to Kimmy for picking it out for me. One of the goals that I had while in Japan was to visit some of the Japanese designers that I love so much, but never really get to see in the States. For instance, brands like Visbum and Kapital. And I was lucky and fortunate enough to be able to afford a Kapital piece, which is this white button-up that is just so amazing. First off, they don't really call it a button-up online. This is called a anorak pullover because I don't know if you can tell. There you go. It is just a half placket button-up. This is a size 1, so it's technically an extra small, but it is super oversized and exaggerated with beautiful dropped shoulders. It is such a beautiful fit. I can't get over it. The sleeves are super billowy when you cuff them up. The fabric is a white herringbone, so it gives a little bit of that texture when looking at it, so it doesn't look so plain. And the details, there are so many details about this shirt that I love so much. Again, you get that beefy half placket. You have those 2 patch pockets on the left and right chest. What's cool about this shirt is that, I don't even know if you're gonna be able to see it, but there are 3 fat pleats on it. And that's what gives the sleeve like this billowing effect when you button up the cuff. And I just think it's a really beautiful shape and look. And then probably the coolest and best detail on the shirt, obviously it's high-low. And then also you have these deep side slits, but then you also have this bungee cord at the hem that you can close the side slits and kind of change the fit of the shirt, which I think is a really, really cool detail and very unique. Although it's a white button-up, what they were able to do with it to make it look so interesting and different from just a white button-up is amazing. I definitely think that Kapital is one of those brands that really pays attention to the details and is very whimsical and fun, and I think this is a great example of that, because even though it's just a white button-up, between the fit, the fabric, and then the details, it just creates something new. So I'm definitely happy that this is the first Kapital piece in my wardrobe. While in Osaka, we had a day trip to Nara to see the little deer and hang out with them, feed them, but we also veered off the path to go to a couple thrift stores, one of them being another 2nd Street, where I found this Port Authority blue windbreaker sweatshirt. Normally in the States, I probably would have walked past this, but something, because I guess I was in Japan, it was calling my name. So I decided to pick it up because I did like the ribbing. I did like the color. One of the other details that I noticed was the sleeve gusset that I thought was pretty cool. Besides the length, the only other thing that's kind of cooked is the neckline. It's got a little bit of that bacon neck. When I tried it on, I thought to myself, this is very different than what I have, but that there's a handful of stuff in my closet that can really work well with it. So we're gonna try it out. We're gonna see what works. And hopefully I'm not wrong. The last thing that I picked up at that 2nd Street was this Bedouins and the Heartbreakers jacket. Now, when I put this jacket on, I knew immediately that I was gonna have to buy it because the fit of it was quite possibly the best fitting jacket I've ever put on. It hits just at my hips or a little bit above, and I don't have that many crop jackets, so I felt like this was just an easy buy. Besides the literal perfect fit of it, all of the details were so good between the collar, the vintage inspired hardware, the sleeve opening and sleeve pocket. And with all those details, I feel like this jacket is influenced by the M38 or M41 military jacket, because when you compare the two, the fits look pretty similar, and also a lot of the details match as well, which would make sense. So we finish off the trip in Kyoto, where I finally remembered that I have a page in my notes app filled with vintage clothing that I want to buy. So I checked that out and realized I have been on the hunt for beige pleated trousers to channel my inner David Lynch. So one of the vintage stores that we went to was Chicago, where I was on a mission to find some pleated trousers in a beige colorway, which is where I found these Eddie Bauer double pleated trousers in beige. When I first tried them on, I was a little bit nervous that they were a little bit too tapered from the knee down, but Kimmy convinced me that the taper was similar to one of the David Lynch pictures that she was looking at. So I decided to pick them up. They are a great length. I really love the length on them. Puddles really nicely. Again, I'm not 100% sold on the taper, but I might just have to get used to them. I'm definitely excited to try to recreate, or maybe not recreate, but channel my inner David Lynch when wearing these. So while trying to find the perfect David Lynch trousers, I needed a white button-up to visualize it. So Kimmy was nice enough to grab me one, and it just so happens that she pulled out a double RL white button-up. Now, double RL is a sub-brand of Ralph Lauren, which is an American brand, but double RL is another one of those brands that really cares about the details and likes to tell a story with their clothes. When looking at the shirt, it just might look like a normal white button-up, but with details like the box pleated patch pockets, the double needle stitching throughout, the latch collar on the throat. It's all reminiscent of early 1900s workwear. I was definitely happy that I was able to pick up my first double RL piece for a pretty reasonable price too. So one of the last vintage stores that we ended up going to that I bought something from was a Jam, where I found this homemade sweater, I believe. It is a marled gray sweater with this yellow, white, and blue Aztec print on both the front chest and the sleeves. Even though it is a little bit more oversized than I would have liked, I feel like I'm gonna be able to get a lot of good wear out of this during the fall and winter. The reason why I think it's homemade is because, I don't know if you could tell, but there are a decent amount of loose yarns, and then also the label is hand whip stitched, and the label says "Fait avec amour," which means made with love. So I just think that's kind of cool, having a homemade sweater. So I'm happy to have this in the closet. Now, I did get one pair of boots while we were in Tokyo, more specifically Koenji, but I wanted to show them off last because they're one of my favorite pickups. And it is these tan suede cowboy boots with this Vibram casual wedge sole. I just thought they were different than what I have in my wardrobe. They looked so cool in the store, and when I tried them on and they were only somewhat small on me, I decided to pick them up because I was like, fingers crossed, the suede molds to my foot and they break in a bit more. I like how they're simple compared to some cowboy boots you see with all of the stitching detailing, but they still have some nice details like the crown detail and then the little pull tab. I just think it looks really nice. And then of course, the wedge sole I think makes it look really interesting and different from other cowboy boots. The toe shape is rounded but kind of narrow. I'm hoping they kind of mold to my feet and stretch out a little bit more just because they're a bit tight. There is no branding, there is no sizing, there's no writing besides Vibram on the bottom. So I have no idea the brand of these. I don't know where they're from or anything like that. They almost remind me of a pair of, I forget which model it is, but the Red Wing Pecos, I don't know how to say it, but the opening on the shaft is different, and then the design on the crown is a little bit different, so I don't think they're copies or knockoffs of them. I definitely will say it is a bit of a gamble to buy these, but for the price that they were, I had to because I love them so much. So fingers crossed. Okay, it's time to blast through accessories because I've been going way too long now. While we were in Tokyo, we went to Disney Sea, where I got this Tokyo Disney Resort hat. The hat itself kind of reminded me of like vintage inspired with the color, and then the little guys on the side were cute. You have Goofy, Minnie, Donald, Mickey, and the Chipmunks. And I just thought it was like a nice little memento from my time at Disney Sea and in Tokyo. Now in Shimikurazawa, we also went to a big time vintage store where I didn't get clothes, but I did get this brown leather belt. I love the belt buckle shape and that gold color, And then I have been needing a brown belt for a very, very, very long time. Ever since buying it, I've been wearing it every chance I get. At the big time, I also got these 3 little buttons that I wanted to put on like my clothes and my bags and just like accessorize with. You got 2 cowboys, 1 little cowboy dude and 1 adult cowboy guy, and then a little bulldog guy. So I just thought those were cute. Next up, while we were in Kyoto and we were at the Teramachi Dori market, we went into a store where I got this reversible fushigi, which fushigis are normally made for like wrapping items, but you could also use it as like a bandana or a scarf, which is kind of what I've intended to use it for. The front, I guess you would call it, is this Bordeaux or maroon color with cream, and then the other side is green and cream. It's this striped design with all of these depictions of rabbits doing little different things like chasing after a monkey or fighting a frog. And I just think it's really cute. And if you don't know, I have 2 rabbits that are scurrying around as we speak. So I had to get this one. And while we were in Kyoto, I went to yet another Kapital store where I got some bandanas. First one being this black Kapital bandana that has all of the pattern pieces you would need to cut out a pant. When you make a pair of pants, you make the patterns first, cut the fabric out, and then sew it. That is what you get to see here. It's the layout of all the different pieces. Now, if you don't know, I went to school for and worked for about 5 years in technical design. And in technical design, essentially all you work with is patterns. So this bandana is definitely sentimental to me because it represents a big portion of my life. I don't know if I'll ever wear it because I want you to be able to see all of the pattern pieces, but I think I might end up framing it because it's just really cool and sentimental. The next bandana that I got was Kapital's Yoabi bandana, which, let me get it in the right position, which has a shungai print, which is Japanese erotic art that boldly and generously depicts love. I love the graphic of this. The peace sign in the middle is so cool. And you have all these little characters going all around doing different things that I will not talk about. This one I definitely will be wearing. It's such a beautiful indigo color. It's really cool design and it's so soft. Now you might have seen this already when I showed off the jeans, but I also got these Westco engineer boot gotchas, and it is so cool. All the little details are so fun. They are so insane looking. The details are amazing. I hope it's coming through. It's so cool. I normally just hang it on these jeans for the most part, but it's a fun little accessory to have. And I'm really happy I got them. Okay, lastly, I bought a bunch of books and magazines. So one of the days we were in Tokyo, we went to the Tokyo flea market where I found a bunch of these like movie promotional magazines that were released at the same time movies were released in Japan. And they are so cool. There's little to almost no English in them, but all of the screen grabs, the images, the fonts are so cool. And the covers themselves are so frameable. I don't know, they're just really fun, like coffee table books. The magazines that I got are Johnny Mnemonic, Gangs of New York, Wyatt Earp, Jumanji, which is crazy, and The Sixth Day. If you're familiar with men's Japanese fashion, then you probably already know Popeye magazine, which is a great culture fashion magazine. I fell in love with these magazines in Japan and I was lucky enough to buy 2 of them. My favorite being this December 2024 issue. The reason why I love this issue so much is because not only does it deal with clothing and fashion, it also deals with films. This issue not only has a bunch of great street style photos and fashion ads, but also a huge selection on films, both present and past, actors, directors, and so much more. I also was able to pick up this Grind magazine. The issue is 2025 Spring Summer. This is another magazine that is filled with so many inspiring photos and outfits. It's such a rich magazine filled with so much. The styling is impeccable, the individual pieces are so cool, and the photography is so creative and inspiring to me. So one of the books that I got was this Lightning Archives military jacket book. This is an archive book that is filled with military garments and items from World War I to the 2000s. And as somebody who loves military fashion, this is a gold mine for me. It's super inspiring and super informational and helpful for future videos. Even this video, it helped me. But yeah, great pickup. In Kyoto, we went to this really small bookstore called Books and Things where I got this. This is a pair of Levi's book. This is a crazy book that documents the history of Levi's with all these stunning photos of people wearing jeans, the evolution of the branding and hardware, the brilliant ads that they created, and so much more. This book is really cool, but the bookstore itself was such an experience that it overshadows the book almost, because it's small and intimate, but has such a cool vibe to it. And the guy is super nice, and he just has an amazing collection of books. If you're ever in Kyoto, you should definitely check out Books and Things. Next up, we have this Baron Yoshimoto Artwork Archives book. I haven't even opened this one yet. When I picked this book up, I had no idea who Baron Yoshimoto was, but when I looked him up, I found out he was a cartoonist that helped create the graphic novel boom during the 1960s and 70s. So with finding that out, seeing some of his images online, and then seeing the cover of this, I just know it's gonna be full of so many cool pictures, and I'm excited to go through this book. Now, lastly, the final pickup, I have part 1 of Akira by Katsuhiro Otomo. I just watched the film for the first time in March and was blown away by it, even though my expectations were so high. And after watching it, I knew I needed to read the manga because I wanted to know what was left out of the film, because there are, I think, 8 parts to it, 8 or 9. So yeah, this is part 1. And I will eventually read through the entire series. But yeah, super glad to have this. It's awesome. So that is going to conclude this pickups video. It is a massive one. I bought way too much stuff, but not enough stuff. If you've made it this far, congratulations. I feel like 4 people are gonna make it this far. But thank you so much for watching to the end. And if you did make it this far, please let me know what your favorite book and clothing pickup was. While you're doing that, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on my socials down below. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Letterboxd, all where I post more fashion, film, and costume design content. That's gonna be it for me. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.